Hey.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
So I absolutely loved the film. I feel
Thank
like
you.
it was such a intense emotional film. How did you find playing a disabled character?
Well, Ruben starts off as a hearing person, and over the course of the film, he kind of becomes hard of hearing until at the end, he kind of makes a decision almost to kind of become fully deaf by undertaking the cochlear implant procedure. So I guess I don't think of the character as being deaf. I think of him as kind of existing in a kind of a no man's land between hearing culture and deaf culture, which is why I was able to play him as a hearing actor, and why a deaf actor couldn't play that role, um, given where the character starts out. But it's interesting because Ruben thinks of deafness as a disability, but I think what the film shows, and what I've learned as well, also as a hearing person approaching this role, is that deafness is not a disability; it's a culture, it's a way of being. And actually, for Ruben, what he learns is it's deafness is an invitation to connect more to others, and connect more to himself than he ever did as a hearing person. Um, and that's something that I really learned again as an actor. I think that the deaf community taught me the true meaning of communication, in terms of really embodied communication, in terms of communicating with your whole body, listening with your whole body. We talk about that as actors, but actually we often hide behind words. And my sign instructor, Jeremy Stone, would tell me that, you know, often hearing people hide behind words. And so in a way, I don't think of it as a film about disability, even though Ruben at certain points might. It's a
Yeah,
film about um, your identity. How do you define yourself? Do you define yourself by things that can actually be overturned at any given moment, or do you find yourself by something that's deeper than that? And I think for many of us, it's natural, right? You define yourself through your job, this your routine, the stuff you do every day, the stuff in your life. But I think the pandemic has shown us that stuff can be taken away at any given moment. And actually there's something deeper than that. And that place deep inside is what we really are.
yeah. When I was watching it, I was thinking how precious having that ability to hear is, and seeing how you portrayed the frustration and the grief of Reuben was amazing, because we felt it while watching it. Um, in your own life, it doesn't have to do with health, but did you ever feel? Did you have a part of your life where you felt out of control and a bit
Yeah.
frustrated?
Yeah, for sure. And actually, with regards to health as well, at some points, I've spoken a bit about a moment in my life when I was totally burned out and I was unsure the extent to which my health would even really recover. And that was really a terrifying moment in my life and my career. Um, I think we can all relate to that feeling of realizing that we're not ultimately in control. And we spend so much of our lives thinking that we are in control. But if you don't control your own body, you don't control the things that you take for granted every day in your life, then you realize, well, two things. First, you realize how scary that is, how frustrating that is, can be, how angering that can be, how unfair that can feel. But you also, at some point, we might realize that if we don't control anything, then everything we have is a gift.
Yeah,
Everything's a
yeah.
gift. You didn't, you know, uh, and I think that it's Ruben swings like a pendulum between those two ways of seeing his lack or loss of control.
I also feel this film portrayed disability in a really positive way
I'm
compared
glad.
to many other films that have been shown in Hollywood. And when you found out you were doing this role, were you, what did you find most challenging about this?
I thought the thing that was most challenging for me in a way was learning the drums. If I'm really honest, learning American Sign Language was challenging, but it was a joy because it was so sociable and it meant I could step into this culture and make these friends. And it's such a rich, beautiful culture with such a warm, communicative community at its heart, that it was just a joy, just a privilege. You know, I remember being given my sign name by the deaf visual artist Christine's son Kim. She gave me my sign name. Is basically the ASL sign for fuck up is this, you know, fuck up, you know, fucked it up, you fucked it up. And I didn't know the sign for thinking, because when I was running out of words, then you can go you know, or I'm thinking, but I didn't know that. So I would just keep going, oh, fuck, fucking up and fucking up and fucking up. And Christine Sam Kim said, you know what? R-I-Z, that's the sign name, fuck up. You know what I mean? So that's my sign name, you know, just all these moments I remember. So that was challenging, but learning the drums was just really tough because in a way you're facing yourself more playing the drums. You know, it's you and it's the drums, and you realize actually, again, it's about control. You don't play the drums. You have to let the drums play you in the end. You have to surrender to them. You have to let that rhythm kind of take you over, because you can't think your way to that. You can't plan and think your way to playing. You have to kind of give over to your body and the rhythm, like acting in a way, you know, actually just like acting. But, you know, I have to keep relearning that lesson as well. Every film I do. So that was challenging. I was really lucky to have, you know, my drum teacher, Guy Lecata, guiding me and being so patient with me. But,
would you say you found it a little bit easier because you're a musician anyway?
I don't know, man. I had hoped so, but playing the drums is very different to you know, speaking as a rapper. I think I had some sense of rhythm, but, you know, trying to coordinate all my limbs to different beats and stuff, it was challenging. And also I'm left-handed, so I wasn't sure if I should be playing open or crossed or even playing right-handed, because I do some things right-handed like often left-handed people do. So it was its own little hilarious odyssey of like, I'm not going to be able to do this, how are we going to do this, you know. But we got there in the end, you know. I was just grateful to have patient and incredible teachers.
Yeah. I'm from the same background as you. I'm Pakistani as well. And I happen to have a disability. And what I really wanted to ask you is, in our communities, disability isn't really talked about much. And like this film really showed a positive, you know, a disability in a positive light. In our communities, we've still got a long way to go. What is your kind of opinion and message to our community, and have your views, the more you've grown up, changed on disability?
Yeah, I think there's such an unjust and kind of idiotic segregation between so-called, you know, able-bodied and disabled communities. You know, even to be honest, the terminology is so fraught and those labels are so loaded. My message to all communities, to be honest, because I really think it is a societal problem, you know, is that we are missing out on so much talent, so many connections, so much friendship, so, you know, so such a kind of richness of perspectives by marginalizing differently abled you know, people, you know, in our society. And I would say that these people, like, just to speak from my experience in, you know, in sound and metal, are not hugely talented and have a lot to offer despite their disability. is so-called disability, I should say, is
Mm.
because of their lived experience. Is because their lived experience has given them a specificity of perspective, of strength, of just different experiences yield different perspectives, and people can bring other stuff to the table, and I just think that we're missing out on all that, and it's just stupid. We need to get better at this, like, quickly. And that includes me. That includes all of us thinking about how inclusive and accessible the spaces that we create, the culture that we create, the stories that we tell are. It's not like oh, it'd be a nice thing to do for them. It's like we're missing out. It's our loss. It's our collective loss. That's my message.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I do think Hollywood, it can do a lot better when it comes to disability.
Mm.
You guys did a great job, but how do you think other filmmakers can do that, especially for women with disabilities? Because whenever women are portrayed, it's they're either invisible or it's not. It's a very negative light.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess I'd just like to kind of think about how, I guess, as a man, I can make space for more female creators, more women storytellers, how I can be a better ally, how I can, and that's a learning process for me. I would take my cue from women filmmakers, storytellers, critics in that, I guess as an actor, you're limited to some extent with the stories that are presented to you, but once they are presented to you, you can talk about how certain roles might be fleshed out, or characters can be cross-cast, and that's something that that I always try and do. But I think more and more as a kind of producer, as I'm starting to produce more and write more, that's something that I'll bear in mind about how I can empower female storytellers.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about who's going to be the next James Bond. Is that well? A lot of people are saying maybe Tom Hardy might play him. But would you love to be? Would you love to play Bond?
I mean, I've known Tom for a long time. I think he'd be fantastic in the role. You know, I kind of try not to think of my career in those terms of saying I want to play that role, this role. I kind of try and, a career is something that you don't really have a tremendous amount of control over. You just have a control over saying yes or no, really, when things are presented to you. And until then, I guess my main thought is, how can I seek out roles that allow me to continue to grow, and lots of things can allow you to continue to grow. James Bond would allow you to grow in certain ways. Sound of Metal allows you to grow in other ways. I guess for me, I'm just kind of constantly thinking about how I can continue to learn and grow.
So far to date in your career, what has been your most proudest achievement? Actually, it doesn't need to be career, just in your life.
That's a huge question. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess I'm just thinking right now. I guess I'm feeling pretty proud of what we made with Sound of Metal. I think it's quite a unique film. I think it's quite special on many levels. As a story, in terms of the process that I went through, I'm proud of having gone on that journey with my teachers. And I guess I'm proud of the responses had from the deaf community. It's a good feeling when you can tell a story for the right reasons, and it connects with people in the right way, and people leave feeling a bit more seen and understood. It feels like you kind of contribute a little bit towards stretching our collective culture a little bit, and I think that's the role of stories. I hope so. It's a privilege to be part of something like that.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and
Cheers.
you're absolutely brilliant. And
Thank you.
I look forward to interviewing